Okay. I got on the scale this morning, because I weigh myself every day, and I got on the scale this morning, and for the first time ever, I crossed the 45-pound weight loss. And I thought, celebrate, I'll wear horizontal stripes. Sorry, Paul, because as a soon-to-be, hopefully former fat man, you know you don't want to wear horizontal stripes. That makes you look even bigger. And also now on this camera, it's going to add 10 pounds. But nonetheless, 45 pounds is what I've lost, and it's awesome. And one of the reasons why I've been successful, and this goes against a lot of the grain of myself, is that this is a very strict diet. It's one of those diets that you go on that you really have to follow to a T. And they tell you in the manual that they send to you, they tell you that you have to follow this diet to a T. You have to. They have testimonials of people who have followed it to a T and how they've lost all this weight and how they've been successful to maintain it. Because losing the weight is half of it. The other half, which is the hardest part, is to maintain the weight loss. That's going to be the hardest part. Because now when I get to my ideal weight, I want to start eating the things that I haven't eaten before. But you can't do that. You've got to maintain it. And then they also have a testimonial of people who have went on the diet, tried to modify it for themselves, and weren't successful, and then months later, years later, whatever, decided to come back and try it to a T and were successful now. So it gave me a kind of, do I really want to follow this to a T and not modify it? Because I have a tendency to want to do that. I have a tendency to want to do things my way. I have a tendency to want to do things that make me feel comfortable. And a lot of this diet is not comfortable. I can't eat potatoes. Are you kidding me? You know, right. I mean, that's pasta. I can eat pasta anytime. But I learned that stuff well, during the second phase of my diet, I can introduce that stuff back in. Sugars especially. Are you kidding me? I can't eat sugars. Anything white basically is out the door. But as I grow in it, I've noticed that when I have eaten some carbs, I don't really feel as good as I did before, because my body's not used to eating all that stuff. It's not used to eating the sugars. I drank a pop last week and it's like, oh my gosh, this is like syrup. I might as well just go get some K-Row syrup and eat it. It was amazing. So my point is that, you know, I followed the diet to a T, and here I am 45 pounds later. There was a man during Hurricane Andrew down in Florida, and he was one of the people who his house stayed intact during the hurricane. And the news crews and the people went to him to talk to him and said, how did you do that? How did your house stay up while the people around you, their house blew down? And he said it was very simple. I followed the code of standards that was set forth by the state of Florida to build a house that is hurricane resistant. Now obviously if you build a house here and do the same specs in Florida, it's not going to fly because we don't have hurricanes. They do. So you have to build it to the specs. It's going to cost you a little bit more money. Insurance is a little higher here in Florida. But those who didn't kind of maybe took a little shortcuts, kind of modified it a little bit, you know, to kind of fit their budget or whatever, and they suffered the consequences. Their house got blown up. He followed the instructions, and it went right for him. His house was spared. Now Jesus says, in our passage, Jesus said to the people who believe in Him, you are truly my disciples if you remain faithful to my teachings. And you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. There are thousands upon thousands of religions in the world, all claiming to have a way to heaven. We live in a world, unfortunately, that is becoming increasingly intolerant to Christ's teachings. There are many people that twist and distort Christ's teachings to their own benefit. Many people. James says in Matthew 7:15, beware of false prophets who come disguised as harmless sheep but are really vicious wolves. There are wolves among us. And we will know those wolves. As Jesus says in Matthew 7:20, you can identify a tree by its fruit. So you can identify people by their actions. As Jesus said in our passage, you are truly my disciples if you remain faithful to my teachings. You will remain faithful to His teachings. The world will know that we are His disciples and the truth will set us free. If we remain faithful to His teachings, our actions, our fruits will shine brightly to the world that we are disciples of Christ. So what are Christ's teachings? What are his teachings? In Matthew 19, we find the story of the rich young ruler. The rich young ruler comes to Jesus and says, Master, or good teacher, good teacher. Jesus said, why do you call me good? Good teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life? And so Jesus said, follow all the commandments. Why do that? Well, then sell all your possessions and come and follow me. Well, he couldn't do that. Couldn't do that at all. So what are the commandments? Are the commandments Jesus' teaching? Let's find out what the commandments are. The commandments can be found in Exodus 20 and Deuteronomy 5. And they are, Commandment 1 is, I am the Lord your God. You should have no other God before me. We don't have any other God before us, do we? I hopefully don't, but there are times when God takes a second seat, takes the back seat. He has in my life plenty of times. My career in radio was more important than God. Sometimes my career in radio was more important than family. Because I had to make cash, and then cash was the ultimate God. I had to make lots and lots of money. And I had to spend lots and lots of money. But that was more important than God. That was a God. That was a God. At least to me. You shall not make for yourself a carved image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in earth beneath, or that is in the water underneath the earth. You shall not bow down to them or serve them, for I, the Lord, your God, is a jealous God. And he also says, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing mercy to thousands of those who love me and keep my commandments. Now, graven images, carved images, likenesses of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in earth beneath, some people may say, a cross. A cross. That may be a carved image, but we don't worship, we don't bow down to it. You shall, number 3, you shall not take the Lord your God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless who takes his name in vain. Some people take the Lord's name in vain and they think the word GD, the phrase GD, well, that's taking the Lord in vain. Well, that may not be the only way we take the Lord in vain. Sometimes we can take the Lord in vain by claiming to be his disciples, claiming to be his followers, and not do anything about it. That's taking his name in vain. We come in the name of God, but do nothing to support that claim. That is taking his name in vain. Number 4, remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Does anybody know that the Sabbath is not on Sunday? You guys aware that the Sabbath is actually Friday night to Saturday night? That's the Sabbath. The Sabbath is Friday night to Saturday night. That's the last day of the week, and it starts at dusk. A day starts at dusk and ends at dusk. The last day is on Saturday. So we should really probably be worshiping on Sunday. We probably should have, or Saturday. We should probably have Saturday church, because the Sabbath is actually on Sunday. Number 5, honor your father and mother. Number 6, you shall not murder. 7, you shall not commit adultery. Number 8, you shall not steal. Number 9, you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. And number 10, you shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, nor his male servant, nor his female servant, nor his ox, nor his donkey, nor anything that is your neighbor's. That's kind of hard, isn't it? That last one. I mean, how many of you ever seen somebody with a nice fancy car and think, man, I want that car? Oh, I would love to give anything to have that car, or that house, or like that pretty wife, you know, those type of things. Now, I have probably broken almost every commandment willingly. Number 2, I don't think I have any carbon. I haven't vowed down anything. Number 6, I don't think I've broken, which is you shall not murder. I haven't killed anybody, I don't think. Although I may have killed people with my words. You know, you can really crush somebody and kill somebody with your words. Maybe that is murder. Maybe that's not literally killing somebody, but you can crush somebody, and I've done it. Not proud of it. And I don't think I've done the ninth commandment. I don't think I've ever, what is the ninth commandment? I don't think I've ever bared false witness against my neighbor, but I certainly have bared false witness against God. Hey, I believe in Jesus. I believe in Jesus. I said that all the time. I believe in Jesus, but did nothing as a smoke and cuss and carry on and cheat on my wife, which was adultery. You know, I believe in Jesus, but I did all those things. But fortunately for me, and fortunately for you who have broken commandments, we all have, we have been forgiven. If we ask God to forgive us, He forgives us. Now it's hard to accept forgiveness. You know, we talked earlier, you talked about the devil attacking your brother. The devil wants to attack us. He wants to attack us by telling us how unworthy we are to follow Jesus' teachings. Ten Commandments are very easy. They're very, very easy. Very simple rules to follow. But we break them all the time. And the devil wants to remind us, Jim, you're no good. Or Rich, you're no good. I don't know if he calls you Jim. Probably doesn't. Does he call you? Yeah. He gets confused. He thinks you're Jim Tressel. But he did. That's coming from an Indiana fan. But it's true. They want your brother. Oh, you. And what we do, or what I did, is that I would take that and I'm unworthy of God. I'm terrible. But Jesus was important to me, but I didn't feel like I was important to him. But you know what? He is. He is important to us, but more importantly, we are important to him. We are more important to Jesus. We are more important to God than he can ever be important to us. You understand that? We are more important to him than he can be ever to us. And we got to realize that. Who cares what we've done in our past? Who cares? Who cares? It's over. God doesn't remember it anymore. He throws it as far as the east is to the west, and the deepest river, or deepest ocean. And he remembers it no more. He's never brought it to me and said, Ronnie, remember what you did in 1995? Never. Follow God's teachings. And that's one of them. Forgive yourself and let it go. Jesus told his disciples in John 14:6, and we've talked about this before. John 14:6 says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one gets to the Father except through me. Again, we talked earlier about thousands and thousands of religions. Thousands and thousands of religions claiming to have a way. Jesus did not say, I am a way. I am a truth. I am a life. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one, not that richest man in the world in Mexico, not Bill Gates, not anybody, no one can get to heaven except through me. No one. No one. God made it so simple for us. The 10 simple Ten Commandments rules. Of course, there's about 600 or 700 more Messianic, or however you pronounce it, Moses laws that take forever to go through. But the Ten Commandments are the biggies. And Jesus added another one: love your neighbor as yourself. It's pretty simple. He made it very simple for us. And he said, there's only one way. How many of you watched that show with me, Let's Make a Deal? Isn't that about the craziest show? I love that show. But it's one of those shows like, should I pick number one? No, let me pick three. No, let me pick two. It's crazy. How do I pick 1, 2, or 3? You don't know. And then you pick 3 and thought, I should have picked 1. 1 was the car, 3 was a can of beans. Man, I should have went with my... God said, no, there's just one way. Right there. That's the door. Wait a minute, there's other doors, but that's it. That's the only way. We just have one door. There's only one way to get to heaven. It's real simple. We don't have to worry about, I hope I'm right. No, this is it. You come to me. Here I am. That's it. Only one way. Only one way. I am the truth. I am the way. I am the life. Jesus is clearly the truth that he talks about when he says, you are truly my disciples if you remain faithful to my teachings. And you will know the truth. Who's the truth? Jesus. I am the truth. We will get to know the truth personally and intimately. It never has been and it never will be about a religion. It is about a relationship. You have to have a relationship with Jesus Christ. Why? Well, why not? He knows everything about you. He knows things about you that you don't even know about. He knows things about you that you want to keep from people. He knows those deep, dark secrets. You are truly my disciples if you remain faithful to my teachings. You need to remain faithful to his teachings. Love one another as you love yourself. Forgive yourself, he said. He said, forgive yourself. I'm going to turn this off. He said, forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. So forgive yourself. The truth, Jesus, will set you free. His death and resurrection clearly sets the way for us to have the opportunity to know him. And He, as the truth, will, and hopefully has, set you free. Our lives are not going to be perfect, folks. We know that. We're going to have struggles. We're going to have moments of pain. That's just the way it is. But this is just a moment in time. And as the song Amazing Grace says, 10,000 years in heaven will be just as if we've begun. There will be no less days to celebrate. So this is just the warm-up. And sometimes when you practice, you go through the pains of practice, right? Jesus will set us free. And free at last. Free at last. Let us pray.